Hey everyone, you're watching VGO40 and this is VGO Girl, and you're watching World of Kings, and we're doing Arno's Ruins. This is a new dungeon that just came out. And I'm going to apologize now. I do have a cold, so I'm going to try really hard not to cough into the microphone, but it's pretty constant. So we'll give it a try and see if we can get through this whole playthrough. Okay, clear all the trash up to the first boss, and you can pull these guys on the side without getting the boss, but sometimes people don't pay attention or let the tank pull, and in this case we got the boss as well. Thankfully we didn't wipe everyone, but we did take a little bit extra to kill it. Now the first boss is not too hard. Actually, none of these I found very challenging. I mean, don't get me wrong, you need a good high DPS team for this. If your rate is too low, you're not going to get there. I went through several groups where we just kept kicking people because their rate was really low, and not trying to be mean, but they're going to the bosses are going to enrage, and you're never going to get past these bosses. So the first boss right off the top, she has these little circles. Just avoid them. They make little whirlwinds. There's also some other AoE damages that you just avoid, the typical stuff. There are these green circles that you want to stay away from your teammates. All this is stuff that you've seen before. So really, most of this is all the same. There's one thing about this boss that you actually do need to know, but it's not hard. And that is that she spawns these mushrooms, these red-capped mushrooms, and they are on opposite sides of the zone to begin with, the first two. Okay, there's the destroy the red caps before it's too late message. We run over, kill the first mushroom, and then across the center there'll be a second mushroom. So once she's done her little AoE damage thing, go across and kill the second mushroom. Okay, after that it's pretty much a repeat of the same thing. Just go around and avoid the AoEs and move away from each other when you've got the green circles. The only other thing is when they summon the red cap mushrooms the second time, there's a lot more of them. So just be aware that when they're summoned the second time, you have to go all the way around the circle and kill a lot of them. So you'll be able to see here in a second, once we kill this first one, that they're kind of all around you. So just rinse and repeat for this boss. It's really not too terribly challenging. It's really the hardest part is having enough DPS to actually pass it. And on this run, she enrages and we all die. So not too exciting. Okay, the second boss. Now there's two bosses on each side. You're kind of going up at center, and it's like a cross almost. There's two sides. There's this one, and you can see it kind of on the far side. So the other one. So this one's kind of actually fun. I enjoyed it. You have that counter in the middle of the screen again, same place as all the other dungeons. And you don't want the counter to get to 30. So what you do is you DPS the boss on one side. And then when the counter gets a little high, maybe the teens, you don't want it to get into the 20s because 30 is bad. You run to the other side and you kill the boss on the other side. And you bring it down, not kill all the way, but you bring it down. And there is a chance you can get trapped by thorns kind of in the middle. But as I said, once the thorns are clear, you run across and you attack the boss on the other side. And you want the damage counter again to stay below 30. So 20s, you want us to stay below. I don't notice a lot of attacks that this boss does, like, oh my gosh, you have to keep the tank on it or something. I don't see that. And maybe this was just a good group. But yeah, I mean, we just ran back and forth the whole time between the two bosses. You do one down a little bit. You don't want their health to get too separated. I think it's like you don't want one below 33 and one above 66 or something like that. But if you go back and forth and you keep the counters below 30, I think you're going to be fine. So yeah, that's it for this boss. It was actually really fun and really easy, and we just ran back and forth until they were both dead. Okay, the third boss, again, I find like the developers are probably just getting creative and playful with these, because I thought this one was a lot of fun too. So clear the mobs, and I just wanted to point out that you can get all the mobs around the third boss before you pull her, so definitely clear everything first. Okay, so typical first things first, make sure that the tank faces the boss away from the DPS, because there are a couple attacks that she does that is like everything in front of her, and there's another one that's kind of like it spins around, and so you kind of just want to avoid hitting the DPS too much if you can. So tank, just face it away from everybody else. Okay, I also want to say it's important to read the messages for this particular boss. Now, the first big thing is turn your back to avoid being charmed by her eyes. Make sure you run out of DPS range, because if you stand too close to her, you're going to attack her. You have to run back and turn around so that you're not facing her while she does her little damage that hits you. Now, here again is one that is the whole front of the room, so you just want to make sure she's facing away from everybody. And then just kind of, do your DPS to get her down. She'll do a couple more rounds of run away and don't look at her. If you do look at her when she hits, it's gonna stun you for a bit. Now here's this thing where it goes around. You see she kind of looks forward in a triangle pattern, and she just kind of looks side to side, but it's not fast, so you can avoid getting hit by that pretty easy. Okay, so just continue to do DPS and make sure that when it comes up again that you have to turn your back on her, you run away from her again out of range so that you can face away from her when that little purple circle comes around. Okay, this is where the boss just gets different. Here it says collect memory fragments. So here you'll see like there's a flower, and if you run over to it, you can collect it. And there's 4 different fragments, and each person can go over to a different item and collect them. And once you've collected all 4, the boss will attack you again, and you just keep doing your normal DPS that you were already doing to get her down further until the next weird section. Okay, so the next section is another fragment collection section. And what you're going to do is the boss is going to like teleport you almost back to the beginning, or maybe after the first boss. Now there's a few parts to this particular one. You'll see these eyes, and it says that the eyes are opening. You need to stop moving, and then you'll get this little like message or like buff thing in the middle of the screen that they're looking at you. Don't move. When the eyes shut, you can move again. If you move when the eyes are open, you get stunned for pretty much the entire time that the eyes are open again, or that are shut. So you want to make sure you stop. Now, if you notice, I just picked up the flower. You have to collect all 4 fragments again. So one was at the beginning of that thing. Honestly, I'm going to tell you, I don't know where the other one is. Probably in that circle where the girl is, where the first boss was. You can mount up, but it seems to knock you off pretty fast, so I'm not sure. So here again, the eyes are opening. You're going to stop while you get that message and that they're looking at you. And then when they're done looking at you, for the second boss, where the 2 locations of the second boss are 2 more of the fragments. So over here, I'm going to get the heart fragment so that we now have 3 of the 4 fragments. And then we're going to run across to where that other boss was for the second boss. And we're going to get the 4th fragment. Okay, and so that 4th fragment, you can see it up ahead. Somebody else gets to it first, so that's fine. And we get ported back to the boss when that 4th fragment is collected. And then after that, it's just the same fight that you've been doing. Just DPS the boss. Make sure you run away and turn your back on her when it says to do that, and just finish it off. So you're watching VGO 40, and this is VGO Girl, and we hope that you found this helpful. And if you did, please take a moment to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time in World of Kings.